I went after Cecilia then. I was enraged. I went after her. I completely lost track of Tammy and Lorraine. It was as if the black fog had swallowed them. I have no idea what really happened to either of them. I can only hope they fled. I still didn't want to shoot Cecilia, but I had decided she was going to get one hell of a crack on the head from the butt of that shotgun if she refused to let go of John. She was almost to the bridge, so I ran to gain ground on her. Once she reached the bridge, she stepped into the thick black smoke and disappeared. I went in after her, following the sound of John's muffled screams. Coughing and yelling, I swung my left arm wildly, trying to find her in the blackness. I had only taken a few steps in when a burned-out board gave way and I fell through, all the way down to the creek bed below. I heard a loud pop, like a rifle shot, from my right ankle as I crashed down on an algae-slickened limestone, but the pain didn't begin to register in my brain right away. I struggled to my knees, and as I looked up, I saw her standing waist-deep in the water. I could see John's hands tugging at her wrist, but the rest of him was underwater. I slowly realized that I still had the shotgun in my hands. I cocked it and leveled it at her. "Let him go, bitch." I had only just met her that night. I really didn't know who she was. And as I looked at her standing there in the dark, it occurred to me that I had no idea what she was. I don't think she was really human anymore. It was as if a switch had been flipped and the power source of her life had been rerouted. A faint sound came to my ears, some sort of clucking sound. As it began to bubble up into something more audible and recognizable, I realized it was coming from her, from deep inside of her. A hoarse and humorless chuckling deep down in her throat. She was laughing at me. But somehow, deep inside of me, I knew it wasn't really her who was laughing. It was the sound of something ancient and utterly malevolent. Something born of contempt. It was like vitriol spreading into the air around her. It was an offense that couldn't possibly belong on this mortal plane. I was terrified and absolutely infuriated. I could see 2 pinpoints of pale moonlight sparkle in her obsidian eyes. The teeth in one side of her mouth shone faintly as her lip raised in a snarling smirk. I had to do something. I decided to do it with the shotgun. I squeezed the trigger hard, and she was gone before the buckshot had time to leave the barrel. And John was gone with her. They had been taken away, almost faster than my eyes could see. The black tendrils leapt from beneath the dark water and wrapped her up like a spiderweb and yanked her under. It happened without so much as a splash. The buckshot I fired kicked up dirt harmlessly on the other side of the creek. The pain from my shattered ankle began to register in my mind, and then took over. My own screaming sounded far away from me. A vertigo of pain and terror and rage was sucking away my consciousness. The shotgun slipped from my hands. I fell back under the creek bank and writhed in the mud. My last memory before passing out was the black smoke surrounding me. It had its way with me. I gagged and coughed and screamed as the light went out in my head. The next thing I remember was waking up in the morning light with a chill in my bones and a deputy sheriff standing over me. And that was the first time I heard them speaking to one another. I'm not talking about the cops who were there that morning. I'm talking about them, the others. That's the only thing I know to call them. I don't know who they are, or what they are, or where they may have come from. But I do know they're now inside my head. They talk to one another as if I don't even exist. I listen to them, and I hear them making plans and discussing strategies. They sound like they're in another room, and their voices have a strange ring to them, but are rather muffled. I can still understand most of what they say if I listen carefully. I'm not a fly on the wall. I am the wall. I am the structure they inhabit. They don't give me any more attention than you or I would give the walls of a meeting room. They talk about strange things. They talk about gaining control. Sometimes they argue. Sometimes they laugh. Sometimes their arguments get so heated the noise fills my head and I can't even speak. Other times, they seem to be trying to soothe one another by talking in quiet voices about how glorious everything will be for them when they finally succeed. And hearing them talk this way is the most disturbing to me. They seem to be so confident that they will succeed. I can't tell exactly how many there are of them. One or two voices will stand out from the rest occasionally, but I can never seem to identify any particular one. It's mostly just a crowd of egomaniacal personalities who are busy making plans. They ignore me completely. They don't care that I can hear what they say. And either they can't hear me at all, or choose to act like they can't. The morning of my arrest, the police dragged me up out of the mud, glancing at me with hard faces. My ankle was swollen so bad the legs of my jeans had to be cut off by the EMTs. The pain was like a lightning bolt through my entire body. The paramedic who did the cutting looked pleased. I'm pretty sure no pain medication was administered, but I passed out again just the same. Dreamy visions of a hospital room came and went as I faded in and out of consciousness. How many days went by? I don't know. I woke up several times to people asking me questions about what happened to my friends and where they were. They were not friendly people. I can't remember what I told them, or if I told them anything at all. I slowly came back to myself. The days were long in the hospital. I must have suffered a pretty severe infection. I was kept in a room alone, with someone always sitting by the door. I hardly noticed my mending ankle because of the distraction of the voices. I insisted on having the television on all the time to help drown them out. I hoped they would just go away as the drugs began to wear off. I didn't tell anyone about them. I believed they were just hallucinations. Of course I did. What else could they be? The day before I left the hospital, I was visited by a detective. It was obvious that he was irritated by having to talk to me. He asked me a lot of questions. Many of them were the same question, asked in different ways. Mostly about what happened and what I did. Others were about my friends, who they were, where they grew up, how I met them, what kinds of things we did together. Then, he told me what was going to happen to me. He said I was going to be transferred to the county jail and held in solitary cell to await trial. He said I was being charged with the murders of at least 3 people, maybe more. He told me about my rights. Then he walked to the door, spoke quietly to the man sitting there, and was gone. I was not handled very gently by those who transported me to the jail. The whole process was a blur. All the while, the voices inside my thoughts talked excitedly and congratulated one another and settled into their business at hand. They would not shut up. I tried to make them respond to me, first inside my head. When they still wouldn't answer, I tried talking out loud to them. I yelled at them and screamed at them and pleaded with them. They just carried on without even acknowledging my presence. The guards began to take notice. I guess they thought I was talking to them. The guards told me to calm down and be quiet, but they don't understand. The guards are simpletons. They speak a language and live a life contained within the confines of concrete walls. Anything outside of this place is foreign to them. Nothing can hope to penetrate the ignorance of this place. The voices sound so pleased that I was brought here. This place is exactly where they want me to be, so they can begin their work. I'm writing these things down now, because soon they will have permeated my mind and gained full control of all my faculties. All that will be left of me is a tiny spark of awareness, forced into the background of my own mind and cognizance.
I will gain a following of people. This following will grow quickly. I will not only feed on the simple-minded, but also on the greed and ambition in the hearts of people. I will be released, and perhaps even pardoned. I will be venerated. I will be placed above all others, like I am some great one. Like I have all the answers they seek.
Please try to understand. Please try to believe that what I am telling you now is true. Once they have control over me, I will have no more voice. Please don't let them gain control over you. They want to lure you and attract you and gain your trust. They know exactly what to say and how to say it, and many people will believe them. I don't know where these things came from. Perhaps they've been here with us all along. I don't know. They want to control the world. They want it to be theirs. They talk about cleansing. They talk about preparing for the change, whatever that means. They talk about one man who will rise from being a nobody, who will convince entire nations to listen, to follow his plan for this broken world. That one man will be me, but not me, not really. My existence will be a lie, a deception. Focus on what I'm saying now. Don't believe me when my countenance seems to shine like the brightest light in the darkest night. Because
my words will move you, will stir inside of you the most profound imaginings. All the problems of international politics and diplomacy will seem to melt away. You will hear what you want to hear. You will think what you need to hear. You will believe. You will believe.
I'm sorry, but it's true. The persuasion will be irresistible. There is nothing that can stop the deception and destruction that will surely come. Nothing. Except perhaps the death of me. The beautiful girl I had is no more. All the simple things that once brought me comfort have been stripped away. Taken away by a single breath. That foul inhalation from the charnel pit she passed into my lungs is now becoming my entire being. I can only hope for death. They don't want me to die. They want me to live on so that their schemes can be carried out to the fullest. They want to deceive nations, to preach peace, while at the same time undermining all of humanity, with nothing more or less than the power of persuasion.
There will be war. There will be slaughter upon slaughter. There will be global acceptance of these things in the hopes that the results will be what was promised.
We all hope for peace, right? Don't we all hope for universal acceptance and love and understanding? The only real hope for such things begins with the end of me. I am convinced of this, and I hope to convince you. I want these voices to be stopped. In this prison, they keep me in solitary confinement, and I am always subject to suicide watch. I am prevented from taking this matter into my own hands, so I ask you, I plead with you, try to find it within yourselves, the will to kill. I am sending multiple copies of this story to media outlets. The guards here are not allowed to read mail if it is addressed to newspapers or news agencies. I hope it reaches someone who can somehow understand and who will take it upon themselves to do what needs to be done. Someone must take my life before it's too late. Maybe I'll be executed years from now, still going on and on about the voices in my head. I hope so. If not, I've at least tried to warn you.
I really have.